Welcome to the latest remote edition of RPPV News, bringing you stories from across the Mornington Peninsula. I'm Catie Sharp, and our top items for this edition are: our weekly pandemic update details the easing of restrictions. The fallout from Catie Council's IBAC inquiry continues with new investigations. Ryman Healthcare scales back its retirement village plans for the Kunyang Road. Frankston train line grinds to a halt again. Deborah Ma seeks advice for foodie businesses before they reopen. We say farewell to a Mornington icon. And the show goes on for Dramana Drive-In. Now for the full stories. We go straight to Shivani Pillay for a rundown on the upcoming easing of pandemic restrictions and what it means for the peninsula.
Thanks, Catie. As at the 26th of May 2020, the total number of COVID-19 cases in Victoria is 1,610, and there have been 19 deaths. There are 1,333 in metropolitan Melbourne and 236 in rural Victoria. The total number of cases linked to the Cedar Meats outbreak remains at 111. The second biggest Victorian cluster is 58 people from multiple hospitality venues, including Eaglemont Cellars and Wine Bar. And the third biggest cluster reached 29 cases with 3 deaths after being detected in the Alfred Hospital Blood Cancer Unit. The number of cases traced back to the infamous Aspen ski trip, a trip that sent residents of Portsea into a frenzy when the jet setters allegedly failed to self-quarantine, has been recorded as 12. 180 cases have been acquired in Victoria from an unknown source of infection. The COVID Safe app is now in excess of 6 million downloads. New directions have been issued for the easing of restrictions from 11:59 p.m. on Sunday the 31st of May, and further easing from 11:59 p.m. on the 21st of June. So we can look forward to winter. From the 1st of June, restaurants, cafes, and other hospitality businesses such as RSLs and bowl clubs can resume dine-in services with up to 20 seated patrons per enclosed space. Indoor venues such as restaurants must still abide by physical distancing requirements with 1 person per each square 4 metres, and tables should be spaced at least 1.5 metres apart. Venues are required to obtain the first name and phone number of every customer to assist in rapid contact tracing. The number of patrons will increase up to 50 by the 22nd of June, and a further increase of up to 100 patrons is planned for the second half of July. It is not business as usual though. You cannot go to a venue for a drink only. Restaurants in food courts are only able to offer delivery and takeaway. Victorians are encouraged to minimise the time spent at takeaways and only attend shopping centres for necessary goods and services. On-the-spot fines still apply of $1,652 for individuals and $9,913 for businesses. Fines of up to $20,000 may be applied to individuals and $9,913 for businesses in court. In relation to travel, from the 1st of June, you will be able to stay in a holiday home or tourist accommodation, including caravan parks and camping grounds where there are no shared communal facilities. There are no restrictions on leaving or entering Victoria currently. So, for example, if you wish to visit family or friends and relatives interstate, you can do so, but you are advised to check restrictions that apply at your destination. There is no requirement for Victorians to self-quarantine after travelling domestically. This news has caused concern for the Mornington Peninsula, which, as reported several weeks ago, has 3 of the highest postcodes in terms of risk in Australia. Our exclusive footage of Cape Schanck last week shows a worrying disregard for social distancing. Similar footage of car parks overflowing at Two Bays walking trail was featured on the Neil Mitchell Show. In relation to sport, public playgrounds, outdoor gyms and skate parks have been open since the 25th of May, subject to a maximum of 10 in a gathering and social distancing. From the 1st of June, this increases to 20 people for all outdoor group sporting activities and exercises. Indoor and outdoor swimming pools will be reopened, but for a maximum of 20 patrons for each enclosed space and 3 persons per lane. For those who are keen to get back to the gym, those services can reopen in June on the 22nd with a maximum of 20 people per enclosed space, subject to 1 person per the 4 square metre rule and up to 10 people per group. And if you are planning to get back to the ski slopes, plans are being developed to open the ski season. From the 1st of June, galleries, museums, national institutions, historic sites, outdoor amusement parks and zoos will be open for up to 20 customers for each separate space. Drive-ins will be able to open, which is great news for the Dramana Drive-In. If you are hoping to get to the cinema, a concert or theatre, you will need to wait until the 22nd of June and only invite your top 49 friends because the limit is 50 customers per space. From the 1st of June, places of worship will allow up to 20 people in a single space with 20 for weddings in addition to the celebrant and couple and 50 for a funeral in addition to the funeral staff and officiant. So with greater freedom on the horizon, notice is being given so we can prepare and plan. Changes to these dates will be subject to the advice of the Chief Health Officer. Premier Daniel Andrews anticipates outbreaks as restrictions continue to ease, announcing if you have been working at home, you must continue to work home in June. We are seeing very low results. We are beating this, but it is not over. Schools are reopening. Across Victoria, students are farewelling remote learning and returning to school. More than 400,000 students in prep grades 1 and 2 and year 11 and 12 return to school on the 26th of May. Remaining year levels will return to school on the 9th of June. Parents should check drop-off pickup times and locations due to staggered arrangements. And named water bottles should be packed as students will not be permitted to drink directly from the taps. Also, canteens and whether they're operating should be checked. If you or your child is unwell, you should stay at home. And in positive COVID-19 news, human trials are set to begin close to home in Melbourne in a world first, using blood cells from umbilical cords tested on patients who have moderate to severe pneumonia. Professor Graham Jenkin, a co-leader of the study from Monash University, said it's not going to cure coronavirus and it's not like a vaccine that will prevent it. But if patients are treated before they progress to acute respiratory distress syndrome, it could prevent deaths. It is hoped that the treatment can be used for the COVID-19 pneumonia. And a shout out to all artists and creatives on the Mornington Peninsula who have been hit hard by the coronavirus pandemic, to let you know that you have a digital home. The Shire's brand new arts and culture website gives local artists an opportunity to promote their work and connect with audiences. The online hub isn't limited to art professionals. Anyone can access and enjoy activities, workshops, performances and events. From Peninsula Chamber musicians' live performance of Haydn's Cello Concerto No. 2 to online ukulele lessons and children's collage workshops. Support our local artists and be inspired, all from the comfort of your living room. That's the COVID-19 update. I'm Shivani Pillay. Back to you, Catie.
Thank you, Shivani. According to Fairfax, Kingston Council is deciding whether to hire external investigators to examine 20 planning decisions dating back to 2004. The development comes in the wake of the IBAC inquiry into land and development deals at Catie Council. According to the media report, Kingston was at the centre of a contentious Chelsea Heights development in 2012 that allegedly involved Megan Schultz and John Woodman, both subjects of the current inquiry. Mornington Peninsula Shire is another council investigating projects linked to Mr Woodman and his associates, including the controversial marina and residential development Martha Cove. Retirement village operator Ryman Healthcare has scaled back its plans for a multi-storey development in Kunyong Road, Mount Eliza. According to MP News, it has eliminated one of the apartment blocks in response to concerned locals and not because of a lack of interest from potential buyers. RPPV has reported previously that locals are objecting to the project as they believe it is on land which should be zoned Green Wedge. The Frankston train line will be partly closed for more than 2 months as part of the level crossing construction blitz. Buses will replace trains on the Frankston line between Moorabbin and Mordialloc and on the Stony Point line from now until the 27th of July. Rail replacement buses will undergo enhanced cleaning and their frequency will be updated to reflect the state's current health advice and passenger numbers. When full train services resume in late July, 3 level crossings will be gone for good at Park and Charman Roads in Cheltenham and Balcombe Road in Mentone. Finishing works will continue at both new stations, with Mentone Station opening in early August and Cheltenham Station to open in mid-August. Further along the line, site offices and work areas are being established in Edithvale, Chelsea and Bond Beach, ahead of major construction to build a trench to remove 5 more level crossings and build 3 more stations. In other news, one of Mornington's most beloved icons is to close. After 39 years, the Main Street Cinema is no more. Mornington Cinema closed during lockdown but had been struggling as people moved to streaming services. However, proprietor Ian McCann told MP News that although the 3-screen complex might be gone, Mornington will still have a movie house. He's moving to a more intimate boutique facility around the corner with a single screen, as well as a wine bar and restaurant. Mr McCann hopes the move to the building on the Esplanade, which currently houses the Counting House Bar and Grill, will be done by Christmas. Coming up after the break, Deborah Marr seeks expert advice for hospitality businesses preparing to reopen their doors.
Hi again everyone, it's Sam Hearn here, Mayor of the Mornington Peninsula Shire, with another Mayor's message for the last month or so that we've had. I'm here outside the IGA down in Hastings, as you can see behind me, and I'm here with one of the info stands that we've got right around the Shire, where community members can come down and pick up information around what's going on at the moment, particularly related to coronavirus and support that's available around that. But we're also using them to get information out to people who aren't online. We know we've got plenty of community members who don't use the internet regularly, and so we're doing this as a way to keep getting info out for everyone in our community. So check it out if that's something that you need. I'll be speaking more about particular responses to COVID-19 in another video in the next week or two, but I also wanted in this video to give the community a bit of an update about things that are still going on, things that we're still working on with and for our community in spite of COVID-19 in more of a general kind of video update as the Mayor. So I'm really pleased to say that there's still been so many projects that we've kept working on with the community. Here in Hastings, for example, we're nearing completion of the new Hastings Seniors Hub, and we're about to start work on the new Hastings boat ramp and facility down there, which will be really exciting for so many of our people who are boaters and fishers. Across the rest of the Shire, works ongoing on the big new Mornington Community Hub development on Wilson's Road, which is really exciting to see that coming along. And down in Rye, we're just finishing off a bunch of foreshore capital works in Rye, and then about to start on the $3.25 million upgrades to the Rye Township as part of the Rye Township plan. So there's heaps of great stuff going on there. Finally, we just completed our solar rollout across all our Shire buildings, which has been years and years in the making. We started rolling out solar quite a while ago, and we've just finished our final council building, putting solar on. That's both a great outcome for the present in terms of saving on energy costs and saving the community money, in the sense that more of our money will be able to go on other projects and not just paying for power. But it's also fantastic for the longer term in terms of meeting our carbon emissions and climate change targets that we're committed to. And on that note, keep an eye out, because we're about to put out our climate emergency action plan for community consultation and feedback in June. So keep an eye out for that. It's a really important piece of work. We really want the community to engage with the thoughts we've put together, the plans, the targets, the aspirations we've put together, and let us know what you think. Thanks again, and I'll see you all soon.
Everyone knows Australia has 4 big banks, but the 5th biggest retail bank is snapping at their heels. It's a bank that's been around for over 160 years, has over 500 branches Australia-wide, looks after over 1.6 million customers, is regularly voted one of the most trusted brands out of all the thousands of brands in Australia, and voted the most trusted bank in 2018. Who is this fantastic number 5? Yep, it's Bendigo Bank, the better big bank.
Welcome back. From 11:59 on the 31st of May, the Victorian State Government will lift restrictions further on the COVID-19 lockdown. Many small food and hospitality businesses on the Mornington Peninsula will be eager to get their customers back through the door, but doing it in haste could find the business spiralling into financial ruin. Reporter Deborah Marr spoke with marketing entrepreneur Rob Clifford, founding director of Alto Sebum, who has written a comprehensive restaurant and bar reopening plan to help small businesses navigate their way while reopening.
Welcome, Rob. Thanks for your time today. Alto Sebum is a company in Melbourne that's like a one-stop shop for the hospitality industry, where you plan, analyse and create to transform ideas into tangible solutions. And you have a very important message to share with restaurant and bar owners and managers today. You've created a document called the Restaurant and Bar Reopening Plan that outlines important steps as owners and managers transition out of the COVID-19 restrictions. Now, we know down here that the Mornington Peninsula economy relies heavily on the hospitality industry to survive. So local industry down here, Rob, will be interested to hear about your plan. But first, how much damage has the lockdown done to the hospitality industry in Victoria, and has a job seeker and JobKeeper stimulus packages helped?
Yeah, hi, Deborah. Thanks for having me. Yeah, that's a great question. The industry in general has had tough margins, and over the last couple of years, just before the lockdown, we've seen a lot of wage issues with different operators. Probably not surprising given the complexity of the current awards. The margins in hospitality have always been slim, especially in the last few years. So coming into COVID, it wasn't looking too good, which doesn't leave people ready to weather too much, or they don't have I suppose, unlimited cash flow to weather the storm. So, yes, the government support has helped, and it will help until September. The real problems are when government support's switched off, and how is the market travelling? Are people coming back? Are they coming back in sustainable numbers? That's the real, I suppose, risk around the reopening. But it hasn't. It'll probably weed out a lot of poor operators who probably won't come back. The staged, I suppose, loosening of restrictions and the restrictions around how many guests per square metre now will actually make a lot of square meterage unproductive for some of the bigger operators. They're probably, if they were only making 10%, 15% before, and you half their numbers or take their numbers down by a quarter, they probably do the figures and say it's not worth opening. So
that's right. Well, back to your restaurant and bar reopening plan, which I think is very important, as I've said. What are the 5 key drivers in the plan?
Yeah, so I think the first point is plan. If you don't sit down and actually treat it seriously, you're not going to have a good, you're not going to open seamlessly. You actually have to think about it. There's a lot to be done, and you have to think about when you're going to open, and that may not just be when government restrictions or when the capacity is in line with your business model. It may be when your competitors around you open up. So if you all open up at the same time, you've got more chance of doing the market. I think the good news is that I think regional Victoria is going to be well looked after. I think there's a lot of money going to go into tourism, local tourism. People are busting to get out. I think there'll be a big blip at the start, but the long yards will be what happens in those months after the initial lockdowns lifted.
Well, with the 5 key drivers that you have put down in this plan being plan, cash flow, prepare, marketing and changing consumer behaviour, and innovation. Now, I would imagine cash flow would be a very important one, because with these lockdown, if you've got a small little restaurant and you can have only, people there 1.5 metres apart, then your margins aren't going to be very good. You have to employ somebody to cook, to wait on the people, and for you to oversee your business. So how is cash flow going to work, and give some idea of how people can implement that?
Yeah, in the first instance, businesses need to reforecast based on their new worst case scenario. So if they used to get 100 people a day, let's plan on getting 15 people every hour, or what's more likely, and only they can judge that. I do think travel will start to happen more so on the weekends. They need to, once they've forecasted, they need to look at their cash flows and understand how they're going to be, not for the next month, but hopefully for the next 6 months. Plan for the worst. Make sure they have a backup plan. Make sure they have another source of funds, be it their bank manager or, some restaurants are doing. They're offering a loyalty program where you donate money, you buy a portion of that business. So there's a lot of creative ways to crowdfund and raise money, especially from your local community. But have a plan, because it may be a long grind out, and you may not get back to your pre-COVID levels for another year.
That's right. Well, see, even consumer habits will change. Will be, is there going to be enough confidence out there that people can actually go out? Initially, I wouldn't have thought so. I guess it depends on the demographic as well. But, things like the changes that we'll see will be no salt and pepper shakers, no menus to hold, no condiment sauces to pour on our foods. So all these different changes. Is that right, Rob? Are we going to see those sorts of changes? And of course, when you go into a restaurant, you may feel hurried to get out because everyone wants to turn those tables over quite quickly to, profit their margins out.
Yeah. So that's a great point. The government, Victorian government, released just today a list of guidelines recommending, as little condiments as possible. Basically, there's a whole heap of rules and recommendations in that document. I think number one, consumer habits will change. They may come. We can assume people are going to come out less. They may. We can assume they may be more price sensitive given their job situations and property values and what have you. On the other hand, they may come out less, and because they're out less, they may want to spend more. A lot of the rules from the restaurant mean that people will have to book, and that will guarantee they're going to come, and the revenue from the restaurant, so they have to change their booking procedures, and the bookings will also allow them to give them specific times as well. So people are recommending 2 hours. I think Sydney, it's got 1.5 hour dining periods. So in some ways, if you've got a semi-popular restaurant and you've got a capacity of 20 and you start doing a couple of sittings or a day with a minimum spend, they say choose a 2-course, 3-course, you potentially could be in a better space. So there are a lot of unknowns about the consumer behaviour, but
Yes.
we've got to be prepared.
And also menus may have to be changed, because if you're going to turn over people in such a short time, you can't be ordering the most exotic dish that's going to take a long time to prepare. And of course, food wastage is going to be another thing. Maybe they'll have to look at their formula and how they actually serve the food.
Correct. We recommend that the menus are reviewed. Why? Number one, to reduce labour in the kitchen. We think you need to get your fixed costs down to as minimal as possible to enable you to trade out into better times. So, and then that means have a look at your menu, look at your best sellers. Now's not the time to be trying new fancy recipes and new dishes. People will go for comfort food in times of stress. Or things that they know. So stick with the comfort food, understand the costs of each menu item, and make sure your staff understand the costs, and start reinvigorating your staff to start upselling high profit items. Those old rules of upselling and menu engineering, people, in good times people forget about that. But now we have to start actually thinking about our business and plan our business in the way we go about it to actually enable more profit.
What fears might the restaurant and bar owners have as they reopen?
Yeah, that's a good one. We've seen a lot of deliveries and delivery services. Now we have these menus moving to online ordering when you come into the restaurant. Now what that means is not only will people be paying, all the revenue coming through the restaurant will be going through a credit card, but they'll also go through this app, and that's going to be around 5% off going to other parties straight off the bat. Then you've got the pressures around capacity, and then you've got the extra cleaning costs. So you really need to plan. You don't want no-shows in bookings, so you have to look at your bookings and make sure I think the general public are going to be accepting of penalties if they don't show up. And also they'll understand minimum spends a lot more than they used to do. But value, people will still be value driven. If they don't feel they've got, a value proposition, and that's the whole experience, not just the food, it's the service, it's how I enter and go. But they need a value experience. But the extra costs that are going to be behind the business, let alone the uncertainty around the business demand, is going to be a challenge for operators.
That's right. Well, one of the 5 key drivers that you have listed in your plan is innovation. And we've seen a lot of innovation down here where top restaurants have actually opened up and offered a takeaway service, and they've been delivering them themselves so that they don't have to pay the exorbitant percentages to Uber Eats and the like. So we've seen it happening down here, and I just read too recently that the Shy down here, that they're backing businesses, which is fantastic. We've received a $5 million budget from the state government to redevelop the Pier at Sorrento Seaford Ferry Precinct. So that's how important tourism is to us down here. And of course, this is a timely announcement too, to help boost morale and the recovery period. So we're hoping down here that we'll be able to sort of mirror what's happening up in the city. Do you think that's a possibility down here?
Yeah, look, I think now's the time to be innovative, and people are open to new ideas, and it's almost a reset in society to a certain degree. I think one of the innovations, or not innovations, but something that you need to look at is this localization. So, especially up in the regional Victoria, you've got to look after your locals. So, locals should receive, some sort of loyalty or some sort of discount or something to recognise the locals that are there for you every day. Then they're the base business, and then the tourism will come and go, and they're not. They're there because they're visiting the region. They're there. They've got different drivers behind their visit. Will they come back again? Well, that will be about the experience they have. So as long as you're offering value for money and a good experience, they'll come back again. The other opportunity is and you're right, the delivery services, the cost is unsustainable. So, and also in regional areas, you won't have delivery room and where there's no density, but the cost is, even for the city, it's unsustainable. You can't pay 35%. A lot of restaurants don't even make anywhere near that. So how can they pay that as a fee? What people are doing is communities are getting together, and there may be a main street with 4 or 5 businesses, and they all would hire one driver, and that driver would, they have a system, or they order direct, and they use that driver between them, and that's a very efficient model. Where and especially in your part of the world, you'll have a lot of these small clusters of businesses which will benefit out of that approach. All of a sudden, what was not viable for them before, all of a sudden becomes viable.
That's right. And lastly, what positive things have we learned from these unprecedented times?
I think we've learned how to reset. I mean, when things are good, we sort of let our spending go and we don't look at the fine detail. I think it's time to get back into the detail, because, unless you understand every cost and make every staff hour productive, you're just not going to survive. I think we're going to cost our menus a lot more, keenly, and these are the things that typical hospitality businesses let go. But I think it'll be a reset. We'll go right back to core principles. We'll go back to selling techniques. We'll go back to service. Service will be a key driver. I like to think people will approach it and try and make their businesses as safe as possible for any visitors to your region. And that's what you're trying to achieve. The government gives you guidelines, and yes, they're the minimum guidelines, and you'll do that. But what you need to ask yourself is, what can I do to make the guests feel more comfortable and feel safe in my environment? And that may be putting plastic face shields on. It may be wearing masks, or making visible things that give them a more comfortable perception of your business.
Well, as of 11:59 p.m. on the 31st of May, restaurants, cafes and other hospitality business can resume their dining services. So it's going to be very interesting on how this all pans out, and if we are in fact able to survive all this pandemic. It's happened down here very fast, and I just hope that we can pick up where we left off. Thank you so much again, Rob. Rob Clifford, Managing Director of Untitled Chapter. I'm Deborah Maher reporting for RPPV News. Back to you, Catie.
That was Deborah Maher reporting. Thank you, Deborah. The Mornington Shire website also has a business support and advice document to support businesses with their recovery plan. For details, visit the website at mornpen.vic.gov.au. In other news, Balcombe Estuary in Mount Martha is under threat and is an environmental disaster waiting to happen. That's the view of the Balcombe Estuary Reserves Group, who have reported their concerns to MP News. The group claims the 76-hectare estuary area is silting up with sediment from unmade roads and adjacent development. The Reserves Group says Melbourne Water has ignored reports and evidence that the state of the estuary is dire and that its condition threatens hundreds of native birds and animals. The Victorian Government has announced a $5 million injection into the development of the Sorrento Sea Road Ferry Precinct. Sea Road Ferries CEO Matt McDonald said the upgrade of the Sorrento precinct will complement the work being undertaken in Queenscliff to create a world-class tourism precinct. Stage 1 will see traffic and pedestrian upgrades adjacent to the terminal, including roundabout and road pavement upgrades and operational improvements. Nepean Ward Councillor Brian Payne said the car ferry is one of the busiest services of its kind in Australia, carrying more than 950,000 people and 26,000 vehicles per year. He welcomed the upgrade, which will ensure accessibility for all patrons. Shire Mayor Councillor Sam Hearn called the announcement a major boost to our economic recovery efforts as we transition out of the COVID-19 pandemic. Preliminary works are scheduled for 2021. The Dolphin Research Institute has reported its first whale sightings of the season. The first report indicates a group of humpbacks off number 16 beach between Blairgowrie and Rye back beaches. Whale sightings reported on the Institute's website will contribute to its 2 Bays whale project, so do go online if you spot any. And the Dramana Drive-In will reopen this coming Thursday, the 4th of June. They're offering a special deal of $30 per car, and with distributors holding back new films, they're going to show some recent hits and some classics. Tickets will not be on sale at the gate. You must book online, and although the diner doors will be closed, you can order snacks on your smartphone and staff will deliver them to your car. And now we go to the weather with Lisa.
Lisa Lenoble bringing you our remote Mornington Peninsula 6-day forecast this Thursday, the 28th of May. Let's take a look at the weather for this week and the extended forecast. Today we'll see a minimum of 9 and a maximum of 15. Partly cloudy, slight chance of a shower. Winds are going to be northwesterly 15 to 25 k's, becoming light in the early afternoon, then becoming northwesterly 15 to 20 k's late in the evening. On Friday, we'll have a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 16. Nice and sunny. Light winds becoming northerly 15 to 25 k's during the evening. On Saturday, we'll have a minimum of 8 and a maximum of 17. Beautiful and sunny again. Winds will be northerly 25 to 35 k's. On Sunday, we'll have a minimum of 9 and a maximum of 15. Cloudy, very high chance of showers. Winds will be northerly 30 to 40 k's, turning west to northwesterly 25 to 35 k's during the day. On Monday, we'll have a minimum of 7 and a maximum of 13. Cloudy, very high chance of showers. And the winds are going to be northwesterly 25 to 40 k's. Tuesday, we'll have a minimum of 6 and a maximum of 13. Cloudy, again, very high chance of showers. Winds will be northwesterly 25 to 35 k's, turning west to southwesterly 25 to 40 k's during the morning. I'm Lisa Lenoble. Thanks so much for watching on RPPV. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week.
Now on to our host on the coast with the most. It's Muzz with the Surf Report.
Okay, well, welcome back to this week's Surf Report. It's been a good late part of the week with some really good beach breaks between Gunnamatta and Portsea. This week, for the next couple of days, it'll be about the same until we get a big front through on Sunday. Then there'll be a rapid increase in swells. So early next week, should be back in Westerport Bay riding some reasonably good offshore reef waves. And that should run through the better part of the first half of next week. So everyone should be getting in the water. Crowds are thinning out because people are going back to work and back to school. And so all the more reason to go surfing. So I'll see you in the water.
And that's all from our team here at RPPV News, serving the community with stories that matter to you. Work from home if you can, stay safe, wash your hands and shop locally to support our community. Keep watching and tell your friends. Bringing you the news from coast to coast across the Mornington Peninsula, I'm Catie Sharp. See you for the next edition.